We're running it back and talking about former Montreal Canadiens yet again. We already made a video about this signing when it happened, and I expressed my pure ecstasy that this was the thing. Jonathan Drouin signed with the Colorado Avalanche, and this was a pairing that I thought made the most sense out of any of the teams that could have given this guy any type of a deal. Drouin, if you needed the status update, signed with Colorado for a one-year deal worth $825,000. Yeah, that's cheap. And when it comes to what Drouin is, as a hockey player, last year he had 29 points in 58 games played. If you ask me, actually, let's do the math first before you ask me. 29 divided by 58 multiplied out by 82. He was on pace for 41 points. That's half a point a game pace. If you ask me, scoring a guy who was on pace for 41 points in 82 games for $800,000, I feel like that is an absolute steal. But it gets even better when you recognize that Jonathan Drouin has really been sort of disappointing his entire career. I mean, sure, he had a few stronger seasons as a member of the Lightning, as a member of the Habs, we know this. But when it comes to the number one playmaker potential that Drouin exhibited at different parts of his career, he never was able to fulfill that and become that true to himself. So for a lot of Canadiens fans over the years, you had seen a lot of pressure on Drouin, a lot of scrutiny on Drouin. It was really tough on him. He had to take some time off to kind of sort himself out mentally, which of course I'm not going to blame the guy for. It's really admirable that he was taking his own health into consideration. But Jonathan Drouin, you could say, was never able to really blossom into his best case scenario as a Hab. But now, with no pressure attached, signing on an $800,000 one-year deal, he's going over to Colorado to be reunited with one of the players that helped him out earlier in his career. We already talked about this in the free agency signing video, but hey, Nathan MacKinnon is one of the best players in the NHL. He is the highest paid player in the NHL, and he's on the Avalanche. These two played together with the Halifax Mooseheads back in the QMJHL, and in 2013, Drouin was the first leading scorer on that team. He had 105 points in 49 games played. Nathan MacKinnon was fifth on the team with 75 points in 44 games. Now, even though MacKinnon had significantly fewer points than Drouin, MacKinnon went first overall, Drouin went third. Second overall, you had Barkov in there because, yeah, he's really good as well. But just kind of taking a look at that 2013 draft and realizing how good all of these players happen to be, the guy taken after Drouin was Seth Jones, who was a lot better before, but is kind of not all too great anymore, I guess you could say. Elias Lindholm is a top scorer, Darnell Nurse is a top-paid defenseman, Bo Horvat is there too. So Jonathan Drouin was kind of surrounded with this talent in the draft spots around him, and he just kind of stopped being able to live up to that as his career continued in Montreal. So now, heading over to a Colorado team that boasts one of the best players that he's ever played with, and with the idea that they're probably going to find themselves in the same line as well, it gets really, really intriguing to see where Drouin's career is going to go. And this article on DenverGazette.com goes out there and talks about how MacKinnon actually helped the Avalanche sign Drouin in free agency. This was published 2 days ago, and what I wanted to do was go over some of the quotes from Drouin as well as from the Avs GM Chris MacFarland, because after the entire situation went down, this article was published and it illuminates some of the extra layers to this situation. Nathan MacKinnon has added a line to his NHL resume: honorary scout. Here is what Chris MacFarland, the GM of the Avalanche, went out there and said. When you watch these two guys play in juniors together, obviously the chemistry was there. Of course, we're going to pick Nate's brain. He knows Drouin better than anyone, not only as a player, but as a person and individual. Nate was definitely an honorary member of the scouting department for a few days, that's for sure. Drouin went out there and confirmed MacKinnon's role in signing with the Avalanche. We were definitely texting quite a bit in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, I've known Nate for a while now. To get a text from him at this time in my career, it's something I was looking forward to. Not only Nate, but everyone on the Colorado Avalanche. It's such a great opportunity for me, and they're a great team. The article then goes over how it's a low-risk, high-reward situation, the contract is very, very good, and this is where Drouin goes out there and talks more so about Montreal, and it's kind of why I titled this video the way that I did, because I wanted Canadiens fans to be able to observe some of these as well. I think I needed a fresh start, Drouin said. Obviously, there were a lot of ups and downs in my 6 years in Montreal. I'm super excited to get a fresh start somewhere new. I'm just hoping to help them in any way I can and try to find my game again. I know it's there. It's just a matter of confidence. And that's not a surprise. Realistically, confidence is a really big thing, and for a guy who ended up missing out on the entire Canadiens playoff finals run in 2021, you could definitely acknowledge that Jonathan Drouin, when he was on his game, there would be no stopping this guy. The passes he would be able to make, the activation, how he would strategically maneuver around the offensive zone, manipulating opponents and finding open lanes for guys. It really wasn't all too consistent there, and for Drouin to come out and straight up say, yeah, confidence, I really need a confidence boost. It's good on him to be able to admit that, and I feel like with more interviews and stuff, there's going to be more people asking him about Montreal, and he'll probably say some more things that are along the same lines. It's really refreshing to hear for me, because as a guy who is a fan of the Canadiens, I can acknowledge that it's really difficult to say that if you are a member of the Habs. If you're on the Habs, signed with them, it's difficult to go out there and straight up say, yeah, no, I need to work on my confidence. That's going to get you in a really difficult spot with the media in Montreal. But if you're on a new team, you're in Colorado of all places, no longer in a Canadian market, and they're asking you about your former team, it's easier to say, yeah, this, that, this is kind of how I felt, I need to get back on track, and that's really good. It's going to be able to allow Drouin to be a little bit more open and probably just more relaxed in front of the media, especially when you consider the entirety of his Montreal tenure. This is what Chris McFarland says about Drouin's top-line potential reuniting with Nathan MacKinnon. I obviously believe that Drouin's skill set will definitely play well with our other skilled players, so I can easily envision him getting looks with Nathan MacKinnon or Ryan Johansson or whoever Bednar wants to see in the top 6. Drouin is going to have to earn that time to stay there. His hands and his ability to make plays is certainly not in question. Drouin ends off the interview by saying, "The process was pretty easy. Me and Nate were texting a lot. I definitely had Colorado on my radar a little bit, and I was hoping we could find a deal and do something there. I got very lucky." And this, as I said, is ultimately the best case scenario. What I want you to do, and I have some homework here for all of y'all here at the end of this video, is head over onto YouTube and search up Jonathan Drouin, Nathan MacKinnon, because there's a video published on YouTube from 9 years ago. It's called Nathan MacKinnon and Jonathan Drouin Highlight Video, posted by Nolan Bianchi. And as the title proclaims, it's just a highlight package of Drouin and MacKinnon doing their thing with Halifax. Now, I will say not all the highlights are of them together, per se. It's a lot of clips of MacKinnon coming in on goal doing some really nice things and Drouin doing the same thing. There aren't too many clips specifically of them passing it to one another, but they are in there. Instead, if you want an even deeper look as to how these two really complemented each other stylistically, there's an article on yahoosports.ca from Cam Charon from 10 years ago, Memorial Cup 2013, MacKinnon, Drouin, and the dominance of Halifax's top line. There's a lot of meat in this article right here. It goes over some fancy stats, it goes over what these guys do well together. It's a very in-depth look as to how MacKinnon and Drouin go out there and do their thing. There's even a chart at the end here where Drouin sets up MacKinnon. That accounts for 3 of the Halifax chances. Drouin setting up Martin Ferk, who was the other winger on that line, accounted for 3 chances. MacKinnon setting up Drouin accounted for a few chances as well. It's really interesting. Drouin makes plays. He's impatient in the neutral zone and patient in the offensive zone. Corey Pronman at Hockey Prospects, who emphasizes puck possession and wrote it at no small amount of Drouin's puck skills, ranked Drouin number 1 in his finals 2013 rankings. I've entered that camp as well, because of what I've seen at the Memorial Cup with Drouin's ability on the puck and how it matches what they had seen out of the U20s, the World Juniors in December. Halifax has an incredible top line, and it's been Drouin driving the bus. I'm not going to go out there and say that Drouin is better than MacKinnon. That's not what I'm trying to say. MacKinnon had 100 points, Drouin maxed out at half of that. But when it comes to what this pairing could be, you're looking at a lot of potential here. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Nathan MacKinnon, about Jonathan Drouin, how Drouin spoke out about his time with the Canadiens, and what we could see out of this Halifax Mooseheads reunion. I hope you enjoyed this video. Carlsson 99, and bye.